Monopole, hold on.
Is that the punchline?
No, shush. Monopole, aspirational vineyard, or disappointing strip club?
All right, that's pretty fun.
That's pretty good.
Hi, I'm Derek Morrison from The Good Wine Shop, and welcome to a special holiday episode of Bring Your Own. Getting into the festive spirit, we gathered a few wine lovers to play Secret Santa and exchange some vinous gifts. Of course, we wanted to put a BYO Podcast twist on the tradition with a little blind tasting challenge. Each guest today has brought a special bottle of wine as a gift to be blind tasted by another guest. Joining us for a bit of festive fun today are London-based author, winemaker, and merchant Richard Bray, enologist and retail manager Hara Mavrommati, and wine car boot founder Ruth Spivey. Special thanks to the great team at the 10 Cases in Covent Garden in central London who hosted us for the filming of the episode. Find them online at www.10cases.co.uk. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a moment to give a review online. Follow us on social media at BYO Podcast and share this episode with your friends. Subscribe to the podcast to make sure you catch all future episodes.
Hi, Richard. Thanks for coming along today, play a little bit of Secret Santa. Why don't you start just telling us a little bit about what you do and where you're from?
Thank you, Derek, for having me. My name is Richard Bray. I'm a writer, winemaker, and wine merchant. I make wine down in the south of France, Collier-Banyuls region, so just in between Perpignan and Barcelona. So lots of Grenache, lots of Syrah, that sort of thing. I write books. I've written a book on winemaking called Salt and Old Vines, which is sort of memoirs of my experiences winemaking down there. And I have a new novel coming out next year. And then I work as a wine merchant at Hedonism Wines in Mayfair in London.
When did the book idea come to be? Did you know that you were...
I always
Did that inspire the winemaking, or did the winemaking inspire the book?
No, the winemaking definitely inspired the book. I was writing anyway. I had an editor who wanted me to write a book for a new publishing house called Unbound, and we'd been throwing ideas around for a very long time. And then in November of 2011, I'd only been back from harvest for about a month, but I was still in quite a lot of pain. 2011 was a very big harvest in the Roussillon. It was very difficult. Everyone sort of threw their toys out of the pram at one point or the other, and were basically just sick of grapes. And I got back and I had a month of people saying, "Oh, that must have been so lovely. I'd love to just go down and make wine in the south of France. It must be so idyllic. It must be," and it really isn't. So the whole point of the book was I was explaining this to my editor in a G chat, because this is a long time ago, and G chat was still a thing. And we were talking about book ideas, and I was just like, "Oh, I'm still recovering from harvest. I'll get back to the drawing board." He was like, "How was harvest?" And I was just like, "Well, it was actually really brutal," and just poured out a rant about how it's not as idyllic or picture postcard as everyone seems to think it is. And he basically wrote back, "So I think you just worked out what book you're going to write for us." So that's basically what the book is.
You get it right from the outset in the book too, which is kind of basically shattering the myths of this romantic holiday. But that's the thing, right? I mean, everybody thinks of it as this kind of romantic, idyllic kind of retire into the sunset and nurture the vines, but without kind of getting the amount of actual backbreaking work goes into it.
Yeah, and the thing is that the reality is actually in its own way really kind of romantic in its own way, but it's not. It's certainly not the image in most people's minds. So.
Well, so going back further, how did you get into wine? I mean,
it was totally by accident. I was supposed to be doing a postgraduate at St. Andrews University, where I'd done my undergraduate. I was a medieval historian, and in the year between finishing my undergrad and starting my postgrad, I got a job at the local wine merchant, very, very good independent wine merchant, which is still there, by the way, called Luvian's. And I never started my postgraduate degree. I've been in wine ever since, and that was 17 years ago.
Was there like a particular bottle that kind of triggered it?
Not oddly enough. The particular bottle that sort of sealed my fate was a fair few years later. I'm inherently a nerd, and so having something new that I could be nerdy about and learn more about, I found that very appealing. But in terms of sort of eye-opening wines, I think the first time I had really great sherry was one of them. But 1997 Musigny from Jacques-Frédéric Meunier, that was the bottle that was just like, all right, I'm stuck. I'm not going to do anything else now.
Yeah, that would probably that would bridge a few gaps.
Yeah.
So Richard, we want to do a little festive thing. So we did set up a little secret Santa. You brought a bottle that's going to be tasted. We've got lovely wine here from, I think if you just look at the tag here, this is from Hara. Hara is your secret Santa.
Awesome.
So this is completely blind. So if you want to go ahead and pour yourself some, and let's dive into the wines and see if we can have a little bit of fun.
So I'll pour a little bit for you first.
Excellent.
So it's white. Quite reductive winemaking style. There's a bit of that struck match sulfur in a nice way. Color's quite bright, quite sort of yellow gold, a little bit of green. Quite juicy, creamy. So full mallow. Well, this could be anything, really. So I think this is Old World rather than New World. Oh, wait a minute. It could be New World. If it is New World, it'll be something like South Africa or cold climate California. But I think I'm still thinking Old World. But if it is New World, it's New World with an Old World sensibility. It is not sort of bright, full of sunshine, fruit.
I mean, it's super saline, but there's, as you said when you're saying about mallow, there's something obviously giving it some nice creamy texture on the palate. But then on the aromatic profiles really can send you in a lot of different places because you've got some really interesting kind of fruit and also kind of like plasticine kind of aromatics, but then it's also got this herbaceous, but in like a
there's almost a
fennel or
I was getting sort of like almost
like
pine
fennel.
sap or something like that. I think it's quite young. I would say 15 was hot pretty much everywhere. It doesn't seem to have a huge amount of heat to it. So I would say it was probably either 13, 14, or 16 rather than 15. I don't get like overwhelming ripeness from it. I'm going to stick with Old World. I'm going to say it's not Spanish. I don't think it's Italian. I'm erring towards France. But if it is French, I have absolutely no idea where in France it's from. There are aspects of it that could be Young Loire Chenin. Mm-hmm. There are aspects of it that could be.
When you say Loire Chenin, what makes you think that? Is it the mineral profile, or is it like the?
It's more that sort of slightly beeswaxy texture, the mouthfeel of it. But it doesn't have that sort of limey citrus. The citrusiness isn't that limey, and that pine resiny thing is really sort of. It's kind of playing like I don't know why it's so pronounced in the way I'm tasting it, but it's really good. By the way, I think I should.
Yeah,
should
which
give
do you like?
Qualitative. I do. I wish.
This is your Christmas present, Richard.
There's something that makes me think Sauvignon, as well, or like.
I think everything that you're saying, all of the things you're picking up in the wine, are exactly what you should be picking up in the wine. And I think it's confusing you for the right reasons. There's a reason it doesn't make sense for those regions.
Okay, so what you're saying is that this is a Chenin and Sauvignon blend from South Africa or something like that.
No, it's still Old World.
Oh, okay, good.
You're not too far.
So I'm saying this is French from 2015. It could be Gascony.
Would it help if I told you it's not French?
It would make me feel like an idiot, but yeah. If it's not French, then it's totally Greek. And it's like an Assyrtiko. It's a delicious Assyrtiko from Santorini or something like that.
Let's reveal.
Okay.
Open your present.
I'm excited. It is, well, something you lose at Aidani Vasaltis dry white. It is Greek. It is from Santorini.
But
it's
not a Certico.
It's Idani. I've never heard of Idani, so I feel like a pass on that.
Yeah, it's like several Adonis.
Which on Santorini, I mean...
Don't quote me on that. Yeah, so this is...
It's really nice. I like it.
Well, so these guys, they do an Acertico from Santorini, and it's absolutely stunning, actually. They just got a lot of recognition for their last vintage. And,
cool. One of only 700 bottles. Cool. I like it, and I'm very excited. It's a new grape. I don't know this grape. It's very exciting. Thank you very much, Hara, for the present. I'm excited to continue to explore. Idani?
Yamas. Hi, Hara. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Why don't you take a minute to tell us a bit about who you are, what you do?
So I'm Hara Mavrommati. I'm currently the store manager at the Good Wine Shop in Chiswick.
Great shop.
I know. I used to be a winemaker, enologist, but I think sales attracted me mostly. So here I am in London now.
And you brought a wine to share with Richard. Can you tell us a bit about the wine you brought?
So the wine that I brought is a typical wine from Santorini, but it's not the most typical that you can imagine. It's not Assyrtiko. It's not for making Richard be uncomfortable or make it more difficult for him, but Idani is the most underrated, I think, white grape variety. Everybody knows Assyrtiko, obviously it's the dominant grape variety of the island, but Idani also can represent Santorini, and also in the appellation of origin it goes up to a 25% maximum in the blend. It usually gets blended with Assyrtiko. That one is 100%. 2015 was for Vasaltis Vineyards, the first vintage they ever released, Idani, and wines in general. And it's a wine that ferments spontaneously, and they leave it with a lees in the tank for like 4 months without batonnage. As a grape variety, it's quite creamy. It gives that typical petrol character that we find only in the terroir of Santorini, and it's, for me, really, really characteristic. And yeah, if we have to speak about terroir in Greece, I think Santorini is the terroir.
So how does Idani contrast a bit to Assyrtiko, maybe for people who know Assyrtiko better?
Idani is a bit lower in profile. What I would say is more aromatic, and it has definitely lesser acidity. But yet it manages, as we've seen with the wine, to represent the terroir.
Very cool.
I mean, that minerality and petrol character that you feel and you find in the aftertaste is definitely the terroir of Santorini.
So where have you made wine?
So I started in Greece, where I come from, and then I moved to Italy for studies, and then after that I decided to travel around the world to gain more experience in winemaking. So New Zealand was one of the countries, amazing experience. United States, in Arizona, extreme climatic conditions. Yes, they do make wine in Arizona. And in London, outside London, at Nintyber, for a bit of bubbles.
Anywhere that you would want to go back to, especially?
Yeah, I think New Zealand.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
I really like the mentality they have. They're really good workers. In matter of terroir, no, I would go back to Santorini.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Arizona for the terroir. But no. When did you know you wanted to be a winemaker?
That's a tough question. I always liked wine. Wine was always on the table. I think I fulfilled at the end my dad's dream.
Your family, anyone else in wine?
No one. I was the black sheep of the family.
Ruth was your secret Santa, and so she's brought this wine. So do you want to give it a go?
Sure.
Give it a pour? Pour and a taste?
Let's see. Okay, that's a red.
Nailed it.
Not very dark in color. I would say that it is a wine that is really familiar, but yet in the same time I'm not sure. It always happens with a blind tasting. It has a very good acidity. A nice concentrated fruit. A touch of sweetness and very elegant tannins, I would say. I could say that it is a Bordelaise blend, but it's too light for being such.
Are you getting some ideas of maybe varieties or place?
For some reason, I would go to Grenache. But again, the color is very light. I would expect it deeper. It has a bit of red character, but very, very light. That adds a bit to the complexity. That's why I would go to that side.
Are you thinking old world or new world?
I think it is old world and traditional style. The thing is that it's a very light wine, like it's quite fresh, and I wouldn't say that it comes from a hot climate region.
I think some of the aromatic, the fruits in the aromatic profile, those kind of darker fruits that you feel a bit more on the nose, kind of comes trickling in the back when you're. It's a very elegant style of the wine. Not quite rustic, but traditional, as you say. It has this really nice.
I find it's very traditional, and that it has a little bit of barrel aging, sure, but it is very well integrated. It gives me also almost that cherry liqueur character, but very, very light. In the same time, and a bit of chocolate, dark, but.
You're flirting with it. You're flirting with the grape. Based on the
It's a
things
blind
you're saying.
tasting, you know.
Yep.
So it's not Barbera, it's not Grenache. I wouldn't say that it is a Pinot, though. For example.
This grape is equally famous in the market in an old world region and in the new world region. So useless. But really, there's two, but like two places. One is old world, one is new world, and that's, I would say, nowhere else.
This is very light in body,
That's
very
what's
light
throwing
in
That's
color.
what's throwing you off about this one.
Yes,
And it
so that's
would-
why I cannot place it exactly somewhere.
If I just say one word to you, I hope it will give you the
clue.
rhymes with Shmulia. Puglia.
Is it Primitivo?
Or also known as?
Zinfandel? Could be. I'm used to Zinfandels like though more
Undrinkable.
undrinkable. No, we've had with more body, more texture. Yeah, it makes sense now, but yet not convinced.
Yeah, because it has this, it's really elegant and has this really wonderful freshness, I think, that throws you off.
Is it a Californian Zinfandel?
I don't know, why don't you unwrap your present?
Let's see. Yeah, it could be Zinfandel. Oh, Joseph Swan, indeed. Yeah, makes sense. So it is the Zinfandel from Joseph Swan Vineyards. It is in the Russian River Valley, California, 2012 vintage.
So what do you think of the wine?
I really enjoy it. Tough for a blind tasting, I would say. Yeah, it didn't cross my mind that it could be Zinfandel. I mean, I can get, because Russian Valley is quite colder climate region within California, and I can see that it can come from there. But yeah, very, very elegant wine. Thank you, Ruth. Cheers.
Yamas. Hi Ruth, welcome. Thanks for coming today. So we've got a bit of a festive Secret Santa thing going on, but why don't we start with you? Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do, how you got into wine?
My name's Ruth. I've been in wine now for about 6 or 7 years. My main project is I founded a tasting event called Wine Car Boot, which I started 4 years ago, and it's been running since then. It's sort of once or twice a year, so it promotes independent wine shops, gets people hopefully out of the supermarket and drinking more independent wine from independent shops. And previous to that, or alongside that, I've done lots of different jobs. Worked in independent retail, I've been a sommelier, wine buyer, sold wine to restaurants, kind of going through all the jobs possible till I find something that works.
So how did you start Wine Car Boot? Where did that come?
I'd been working a little bit in events, sort of by accident, alongside doing some freelance wine work, and it was just, I saw hopefully what was a gap in the market. There wasn't at the time. There's a lot more wine activity going on now with lots of pop-ups and tastings and much more sort of engagement, but there was nothing really at the time that I thought was a really fun event for consumers that helped people buy wine really easily and change their buying habits. There was other things that you could have a great experience, but not necessarily change your buying habits, which is what you need to do, hopefully. So, and it was just, and there wasn't and I don't think there is much now, just solely for independent wine shops as well. There's many great shops full of amazing wine, full of amazing people who work there as well with lots of knowledge, which you don't get that in the supermarkets at all. So I just kind of thought they need that, get everyone in a car park and get drinking.
Crack some bottles open.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good kind of segue. Why don't you tell us a bit about the wine you brought for Hara today and why you brought it?
I brought a Zinfandel from Joseph Swan Vineyards in Sonoma, in California. It was funny because actually if someone asked me a red grape variety I don't like or would sort of get rid of, Zinfandel would probably be up there, generally. But that one's obviously definitely an exception, and brilliant winemaker and really beautifully made. I used to say Zinfandel was one of the first grapes I started to drink when I used to buy wine from corner shops, and so got into drinking that, and it was, I thought I found my wine in the corner shops. I was like, oh yeah, I got into wine, I know what I'm doing now, I've got my bottle I go and choose. And then one day I went to get the same bottle again, feeling really confident, like I'd sort of sussed out the whole wine thing, it was really easy now. And the bottle tasted really different. And I was like, shit, I think that's I've been, that's it, I've got to start from scratch again. It's actually quite tricky. Looked at the labels and there was vintage change, which admittedly at that level of wine, it was a Gallo Zinfandel. Red, obviously not white or blush. That's not that bad. But so yeah, and obviously like from a corner shop, there's probably not really a vintage variation. It was probably faulty, or they left it out in the sun. but it made me feel like, oh look, there was something. So, and then I'd been reading a encyclopedia about wine as well. My brother was into wine, so he had that. So it kind of started piecing things together. So through a sort of like very low level, not particularly nice Zinfandel that was probably faulty from a corner shop, but it sort of was one of the things like many, many years ago. I don't buy wine from corner shop anymore, obviously.
I think that kind of happens for all of us though. When we start out with wine, something sets the intrigue, and most of us think we're pretty embarrassed to talk about some of the wines that we first used to think were fascinating. And
God, yeah, absolutely.
The worst is when you start buying them and then you realize that 10 years later you go look through your site like, I can't believe I own that, and
saved it.
Exactly.
Well, I used to drink. The other one I was really into Bamrock Station when I first started drinking, which I liked, has some better redeeming feature because it gave some of its profits to environmental causes and things, but because that was Shiraz Mataro and they did a Petit Verdot. So when I went into an independent shop once and they said, what do you normally drink? And I went Petit Verdot, and they thought I was really, really expert. They didn't know it was Bamrock Station. But they gave me a lot of time and they were like, oh, your stuff, you drink some interesting grape varieties. So yeah, so it's funny how, but so that's sort of, everyone has to start somewhere. Yeah. So.
And so why did you bring this one?
Oh, so this one basically, so it's sort of, I know that everyone was sort of asked to bring something that had some sort of meaning to it. So it's a wine that it's probably one of the few Zinfandels that I drink now. I probably drink more Old World wine than New World as well, but they, have been making wine for, 50 years in a sort of slightly more hands-off, slightly more restrained approach, and I always think it's quite nice to revisit these kind of guys who started that movement. Or the newer, younger people get all the credit, and so they should as well. They should definitely, be rewarded for that of things. But there's definitely obviously some of these guys, started things off. So yeah, I just think it's one of those ones that goes to show that you can make great wine out of probably any grape, but it's just how it's handled. So, and awesome labels as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just a bit of so the whole Zinfandel thing has a backstory of corner shop wine, and plus it's, and it's just, it's a beautiful example of it. So
cool.
So yeah, so that's kind of why I brought that, and I hoped it wasn't too. It's interesting and a little bit tricky, but not a complete dickhead wine to bring to a blind tasting.
I think as you said, yourself, that like there's not too many Zinfandels that you think to reach for to take home and drink, and so I think it's often we can get caught up with negative impressions of wines, and so this was a really good wine to challenge that. And I think it.
Yeah, I think it's good. Everyone should, you should always keep drinking lots of different grape varieties as well, and everyone's palate changes, and it's like we were saying, when you go back and revisit some of the wines you liked 5 or 10 years ago, you sort of think, God, what was I thinking? So, but it's good to keep going with that, and that's one of the many beautiful things about wine, obviously.
I always say that I'm agnostic about things that I don't like, waiting to be proven wrong, because we never know everything, but we're always open to surprises. So for your Secret Santa tasting today, it's from Richard. We've got this beautiful white wine, but we've actually been decanting it. So let me just pour you a little bit. And
I'm already looking for clues now, the shape of the bottle. Why have you decanted it? Which is probably a bad thing to start. Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Well, that's delicious. Can I just say that?
Absolutely.
It's one of those delicious
Most
wines.
important.
Well, it's pretty big, isn't it? I'm trying to think back through what I've seen Richard drinking on Instagram recently. I mean, my first thought was a Chardonnay, lots of oak. I hate that maybe because I used to drink really obvious wines from countries and cheaper, horrible, slutty New World wines. So they were always big, and the old ones were always, but that doesn't really stand anymore.
It's a big wine.
Yeah, no, it's big, it's oaky, rich, quite a deep colour, so kind of burgundy shaped bottle, but that doesn't really help. There's loads of wine in those shaped bottles. I don't reckon if it's New World, I reckon it's Californian. I think it's a Chardonnay. I reckon it's oaked, obviously. I'm getting oak more than anything. I'm not getting a huge amount of aromatics off the fruit.
Well, if you warm it up in your hand, I think it's good. It'll start to reveal a bit more. I think it's barrel fermented and barrel aged.
I mean, maybe it's New Zealand. I don't think it's Australian. Maybe it's New Zealand or Californian or French. That's still a lot of land mass.
No, so if it's from each of those places, where do you think? If it's from France, where do you think it would be from France?
A Merceau, So maybe Merceau, Burgundy. A Russian River Chardonnay. Can't even think where now. I think it's relatively young as well. Maybe 5 years in the last 5 years. If it's French, then maybe quite a fat year. Maybe a 12 or 14. I wonder how good it would be, though. I mean, would someone give a whole bottle of something really epic to me to blind taste when they could drink it themselves and just give me something cheap? I mean, I would do that.
Well, I think if you ask the winemaker who makes this wine, they'd probably say it's quite an epic wine.
Okay. Oh God, I don't want to go. Yeah. So it's not Jacob's Creek. I'm going to go Burgundy, Merceau in the last 5 years. Producer. I mean, I wouldn't have a clue. It could be anyone epic. So I don't know. I could be maybe it's Christmas. Maybe Richard's feeling really generous. I don't know, a Lafon or something. I mean, he's a nice guy, Richard. He drinks nice wine. He's got good taste.
I would have swapped it out if it was a Lafon, maybe.
Just
Richard brought this
for some house wine.
Jacob's Creek Preserve.
I reckon it's Burgundy. I'll say Merceau. And where are we? 2017. I reckon 4 years old, 3 to 4 years old, or in the last 5 years. Is that specific enough? Is it right enough?
If I can give you a hint that it's...
Is it a Kistler? Maybe something like that.
I totally get it.
Just trying to think, yeah.
It's not Chardonnay.
Oh, piss off. That is so annoying.
I get
why. Is it not?
No, it's not.
But don't tell me it's fucking Riesling or something.
No. You're really close.
It's like Sauvignon Blanc. I'm going to lose my shit as well, because that's, Is it Chenin?
No. Further south.
Is it Rhône? Is it like no, it's not floral enough. Condrieu, Marsanne. It's not what Condrieu like. It's really oaky. Marsanne, I'm trying to think.
Okay, so because it's so big and rich.
I'm trying to think of it. It's big,
tropical,
rich, tropical.
Where else in France could it be from?
Provence, Languedoc, Roussillon. Is it his wine? That's why he's an epic winemaker as well. Where? Languedoc, Roussillon.
I'll tell you what.
It's French. It's French.
Open your present whenever you're ready.
I'm going to be so annoyed.
Richard wrapped it really well.
Ugh. gonna. Oh, I haven't. I don't know this wine at all.
It is his
Anna
wine.
Ruth, it's your wine. Oh my god. Nice. I wouldn't have guessed. Well, I didn't guess Roussanne. I wouldn't have guessed Roussanne. No, I didn't. Wow, this is a whole new discovery. Amazing. I don't know this project very well, so is it brand
So
new?
the
or-
Constellation wines, I think that's the top wines that they do.
That's
and
quite a
Christine-
good name as well, given the fact I said Chardonnay. Is this my consolation prize? It's pretty good. It's a pretty good
It's your
consolation
secret-
prize.
It's your Secret Santa present.
Nice. So what a lovely label as well.
So Richard, you also brought a bottle of wine tonight for somebody as a Secret Santa for Ruth. Can you tell us a bit about the wine you brought for her?
Yeah, I brought a wine that I helped make. It's the Juliette Roussanne Sauvage, which is a wild ferment Roussanne from our best plots of Roussanne on the Mascrestine estate. So Mascrestine just sits just outside the Collier appellation, so it's Côte de Roussillon, but it's still quite a lot of that schisty Collier terroir. Overlooks the Med, so it's a big Roussanne. Ripe, but not overpoweringly so. We try to get as much out of it we can. We think it's a great example of just how well this particular fruit can perform in that particular terroir.
So thanks everyone for coming tonight. I really appreciate you celebrating the Secret Santa theme with us, and so I wanted to bring a Secret Santa gift for all of you from the BYO team. So, and in sticking with the fashion of the episode today, we'll have a little blind go at it and see what you think, if we can figure out what it is.
Ooh, that's like a Christmas wine though, isn't it? It's all spicy and big, and just where's the fire? Where's the presents and the tree?
A bit bready.
Bit bready, but
But
in a warm,
yeah.
by the fire kind of way. In a way that
Nice tannins. It's a
It's
tannin.
not annoying.
yeah,
but really fun.
the wine.
Winemakers will drink.
It would only be annoying if there was a really pedantic winemaker there being, I can't just get past the Brett, and then just like, oh,
Yeah,
well,
I'm a
then you
bit
can
like
go.
that. But
Me too.
That's like I had a joke. What do you call a man who works in natural wine?
Brett.
Brats. It's a wine joke. What do you expect?
Yeah, I have no idea.
It could be from a Roussillon red. It's kind of got that sort of
doesn't matter.
violety, wildy. It's a bit not volatile in a bad way, but it's kind of all a bit sort of
People like the
nervy. It's got really quite a lot of tannin, but really fine. It's like a high class, like a posh rustic.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
It's not
sort of-
refined and soft and delicate and like a sort of, but it's a bit gritty, but really fucking delicious and proper white. It's super well made, I think. I mean, I could drive that down. It's like a winter session wine.
yeah, easy drinking.
Yeah, there's almost like a mull spice garrigue to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking southern France.
I think, I don't think I've tasted a wine like that too much from not Europe. And I think French more than maybe Italian or French, not Spanish.
Shall we say one variety? Probably. Not a
Or
blend.
maybe a blend.
If it's a blend, I think there's some Mourvedre in it.
In it.
But I don't think it's like only Mourvedre.
I can tell you it's a single variety wine.
Okay.
Could it be Italian, northeast Italian?
Ooh, not a bad shout.
A bit mountainous, some sort of meaty dolomite.
Yeah, there's a real dryness to the tannins that I wasn't spotting in my first sips.
I can tell you that do you want me to tell you the soil? Do you want to tell you anything?
What it is?
Actually, it's not going to be in there.
No, tell us the soil. That
It's
would be
like kind of clay, limestone, and schist.
Clay, limestone, schist.
So it's just
So that's really
that's
like
all
almost
the soils.
all the big soils. There you go.
That's
would
weird.
give it
That
a
makes me
taste
think
of
it's
it.
alluvial or somewhere post-glacial. If you're gonna get all that rain.
Who makes? I shouldn't look at the bottle, but it's a really slightly strange shaped bottle. It's quite thin. It's isn't it? It's not. And
If you can figure out the grape variety, then that'll probably
single or blend. Single. Sorry, you said that already. Sorry.
it'll put you too long.
I'm tempted to say Sangiovese, but not from Tuscany.
Could it be?
To be honest.
I'm
I don't know
that
if
dryness of
you
the tannins that came out. I'm kind of with you on the Sangiovese
Because
trend.
you said Italy, and I couldn't place it in Italy 100%, but not even
Is
in
it too tannic
France.
for a Brunello?
Is it Sangiovese?
Yeah,
That's exciting.
for
Okay.
Hara kind of
argument's
said
sake.
that, but I'm going to claim it as a team goal.
Yeah. No.
Yes.
Now, I mean, I'm gonna say that it's Sangiovese in the sense that we're talking about all the different types of
Colour-
Sangiovese. I'm just acknowledging it's one of them.
Interesting.
So, if we're in
So what we
Tuscany,
have-
are we Tuscan Sangiovese, and we'll try and pin it down to, or not necessarily? Where else is Sangiovese really grown? I mean, like really, really grown. I mean, some people would say Australia, but I don't think it's not. I don't think it's one of those Australian Sangiovese.
We're in the right,
Yeah.
you know.
We're in the right neighborhood.
Is it a Emilia Romagna Sangiovese? Is there some bit that's a bit grown there? I don't know, I'm just thinking of.
Could be,
I'm
but
basically
it
just
has
saying
a lot-
places close to Tuscany.
But it has a lot of acidity and very grip tannins that I wouldn't place it to Emilia Romagna, but
I'm not sure I've had something from this particular appellation, DOC or
I
DOCG.
would be tempted to say Tuscany, but not in the same time. If we stick to Sangiovese, yes, but not in the same time.
So where if it's so?
Corsica?
Is Sangiovese when
Are
it's
you
grown in
thinking
Corsica
Corsica?
I'm
called
thinking
Sangiovese?
Corsica.
Are you thinking? Because I was thinking that was what I was thinking
That's why I asked.
when I
Maybe
first
have we
smelled and
tasted it
tasted.
before?
The
Like,
color's very dark. It's very meaty.
It's very dark, and if you see the rim is quite
pale.
yes.
It does have that herby sort of like wild,
Yeah,
volcanic-y,
definitely.
angry,
Yeah.
birthy, sort of like tingling around
That's
thing.
why the schist that Derek mentioned before in the soul gave me that thing. That
Well, you've got little bits of schist, but it's predominantly more limestone. So I mean, you're getting really hard soil. That's obviously going to add a really hard layer to accentuate the acidity and
Right,
the tannin.
it's like it's got personality. It's got opinions. This wine.
Yeah, but
And it's less bready with every sip.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just tearing off. So
Is it a monopole?
no, there's
There's none of them in Italy. So sorry, I
Do
keep
you know what?
forgetting. I keep
There's a
forgetting.
winery on Santorini that literally could have been the monopole.
Is
strip
it?
club.
Is
yeah,
it?
because
Is it
the Gaia strip.
Is it the Tuscan monopole?
Which winery is it on Santorini that used to be a strip club?
Don't pretend you don't know.
I don't.
No, him.
No,
Hara's like,
is
pretty
it-
sure that's not a thing.
is it,
Cut it.
is it Gaia?
Yeah, it wasn't a strip club. It was a club, yes, beach club, let's say.
Beach club, is that like beach club in like, yeah.
Back to the
That's what we all call them.
Sangiovese.
Yeah.
Okay, Sangiovese.
I now know when someone goes, hey, do you want to come to the beach club? I might, you know, I might
How you
say
pronounce
thanks,
it, I guess.
thanks but no thanks.
Don't worry, I'm drinking.
Grazie,
alcohol.
but non grazie. Oh no, we were talking about Greece, weren't we, in Italy? I can only really speak a bit of French.
Yeah, in Greece they don't do Sangiovese, I think. Not yet.
I think this is Corsican.
I think it is Corsican as well. Derek?
They're getting thumbs up.
Why don't you do the honors to unwrap the Christmas present?
Oh, it's double wrapped.
Double wrapped.
Come on.
It's like
Extra
Seriously,
special.
drum roll, please. It's
I feel like I'm
It is.
Yeah, it is
stripping the
Corsican.
bottle.
Well done.
There we go. 2013. Clue.
It's really rude.
Signatore. There we go. It's new wine for me. So tell us about the wine, Derek. Is this a favourite of yours?
So this is the Clos Signatore Patrimonio Rouge from Corsica, from Patrimonio, obviously. It's there in the Poggio d'Aletto area of Patrimonio, which is up in the mountains. So a bit higher altitude. I think it's, I don't know, around 350 meters or 400 meters or something like that. But it's 100% Nelucci, which is the Corsican name for Sangiovese.
Nelucci.
Alicia, there you go.
Nelucci.
Nelucci.
So Clos Signatore is a producer that we work with, Christoph Ferrandis, that we bring into the UK. So I'm glad that you found your way to it, because it's one of my favorite producers that we work with, and I just think his wines are really exciting. It's kind of like vinified like a Brunello, but in Patrimonio. So it's a couple years aged in demi-muids and big old barrels, like old Burgundy barrels. But it's
There's hardly we don't get much Corsican wine here. I've probably seen 3 or 4 max on the shelves. Like you get, or an independent shop might have 1 or 2. I mean, you might have more if you.
Yeah, we buy his directly, and we were lucky to get an allocation from him. And I just think that the wines are stunning. He does this, and he's a bit of Vermentino, and I just thought it was a great kind of Christmas wine to show, because it's kind of like, Corsican wines they're premium. They're really interesting, unique wines, and not a lot of people know them. So it's kind of a bit of a challenge with presenting new premium wines in the market. Why? But I think relative to, say, Brunello, it offers a lot of great value. Why do you think? I mean, I'm sure the island makes wine at all different price points. The ones that come here, obviously, I know, why import wine that but why don't we sort of get the full range over here? Those ones we tend to always be in the sort of least £10-12, but probably close to 20 before you even get, so... To be honest, I mean, he doesn't make a lot of wine. I think he makes 2,000 bottles, or maybe less than 3,000 bottles of this a year. Do those the local people who maybe make... locals who make a lot of wine, and is it just it's domestically consumed, so we don't get the sort of what would be £12-15 on the shelf here? We don't get it. Yeah, I think it's tough. I mean, the Corsican wine industry is it's pretty vast and massively contrasting different regions as well. I mean, even within Patrimonio, I mean, you've got some lower elevation wines that I'm sure are a lot more quaffable than some of the stuff that's up in the mountains on harder soil. So this isn't really beach wine. If you're on a Corsican holiday, this isn't probably what you're reaching for with fish that's been freshly caught that day. But but what I think I was reading something earlier even about, like, Thomas Stevenson has said that the wines from Patrimonio should be drank within 1 to 3 years of vinification, and it's like this is the 2013, and this wine has been decanted for hours, and it's just starting to it's really just a wine that's obviously got a long life ahead of it. But Christoph's wines, I think, are just fascinating. He's working with a really kind of he's certified organic, but working in a kind of a minimal. He doesn't. Everything's kind of natural fermentations. Old barrels, really trying to kind of age the wine as opposed to flavor the wine with oak, and then it's got nothing added until some sulfurate bottling. So he's just really trying to make transparent wines that reflect the Patrimonio terroir where he is in Poggio d'Oletto, and I've just always been really impressed with his wines, and I thought it was kind of a fun thing, again, for blind tasting, finding something that has a bit of familiarity
and not in the same time, no?
In the Sangiovese kind of element, which leads you to everywhere that you guys were talking about, but then gives us a bit of a twist. That's always where you can. What I love about wines from wherever they are or whatever they are, especially if we're looking at a new appellation on a grape that we know well, is what does that place say uniquely? And I think that the mix of soils, and obviously these are old vines, gives you a real interesting contrast. If you put this wine, and I've done this for tastings, putting it next to a Brunello, some top Brunello, is you see a lot of harmony in terms of the style of vinification and personality of the wine, but there's obviously a very unique voice and contrast based on that those soils are so powerfully impactful on the wine that I think it just creates really unique, interesting wines. So I highly recommend it with turkey or big Christmas roast. It's a super Christmas wine, and a good one, I think, also to take to people if you're spending Christmas with other people who drink slightly more classic wines from classic regions. You could take that; they'll enjoy it equally as much, and possibly even more when they find out it's from Corsica as well. It's just a little interesting talking point than here's another Brunello. I mean, not that taking a Brunello is always a good option as well, but no, thank you for sharing that. That's been well done to the crew. It's been an education. You guys definitely found your way to it anyway. Yamas, cheers. Cheers, guys. Thanks, guys. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.